Hi there. Hi Marco. How are you doing today? I saw your bowl that you draw. It was so fantastic. Great job. I really loved it. So today I thought we'd start out by doing a little drawing exercise. So we'll go ahead and start out with your paper and pencil. And actually, you can do this exercise maybe on the back of your paper or on an extra scrap piece of paper. But here's what I'd like you to do to start out. I'd like you to draw a long skinny rectangle with your pencil. Now I'm going to divide it up into 7 squares. So right down the middle is an imaginary line, and then on each side of that line I'm going to draw another line. And then over here 2 more lines. And if it's not really even, it doesn't matter. And then 2 more lines on that side. So you have a long skinny rectangle divided up into 7 squares. Now over here I'm going to leave this square white. I'll put a W for white. And on this side you're going to start making it the very darkest black. So you're going to start here with black and then work your way up to white. So in each square it's going to be a different shade. So I'm going to shade in this first one just about as dark as I can make it with my pencil. And I can turn it and shade it in the other direction. So I'm going to make it as dark as I can. And then the next one is going to be a little bit lighter. And then the one after that is going to be a little bit lighter even. And the next one a little bit lighter. So you see kind of where this is going. So that one's going to be white. So I want that one to be so light it is almost white, but not quite. So I'm going to shade this one the very lightest. And you'll notice I'm not pushing very hard on my pencil at all. I'm pushing as light as I can to keep my pencil line nice and light. And this one is going to be a little bit darker than that. I'm going to go back and adjust this, adjust all these other shades so it goes from light to dark. Now this one needs to get a little bit darker. So I'm going to go back in and darken it a little bit. And of course, take your time doing this. Okay, and you can see now that this one needs to be a little bit darker, and that one's going to need to be a little bit darker. And that's what I have in the end. So I go from very dark all the way up to white, which is the white of the paper. So when you're drawing, you can think about all these different shades that you can draw. So you can draw really, really dark shades and then push a little bit lighter on your pencil and lighter and lighter and lighter. And then the very lightest areas, you can leave white. So that's a good way to practice your shading. So today we are going to draw an elephant. That's what it's going to look like when it's all done. Let's just go ahead and dive in right away. So go ahead and flip your paper over or grab a new sheet of paper. And now starting right into the elephant. So we're going to start by making a nice big oval up here, and that's going to be his body. And over here we're going to leave room for a smaller circle, which is going to be his head. And then down here we're going to leave room for his legs. So this first oval we're going to draw needs to be kind of in the upper right hand side of your page. Imagine if you divide your paper into 4. If you fold it down the middle and fold it the other way, this upper oval is going to be up in the upper right hand quarter of the page. So going ahead and starting with a nice big oval. And next, a smaller circle. It's going to be lined up on the top. Oh, you know what? I forgot to use my pen. I'm going to move to the black pen so you can see what I'm doing a lot better. So the big oval. Ah, that's better. All right. And so we're going to do a second, another circle. It's going to be right over here, and it's going to be lined up at the top with your oval, and it's going to overlap there a little bit. So it's going to look like this. So lined up at the top and overlapping. Now down from the circle, you're going to draw its trunk. So start out here on the left-hand edge of the circle and draw down just kind of a nice little curving shape for his trunk. And then go down a little ways from there on the bottom side of your circle, and then match that same curve that you just drew. Go ahead and match it. But as you get down to the bottom, you're going to make his trunk a little bit skinnier. And then out here at the end, you're going to do this funny little nose thing that elephants sometimes use to pick things up. Very useful to have a trunk, I think. Now we are going to draw in his tusks. So right here where the bottom of his trunk meets his head, you are going to draw a little line up, like a little arch right there. That is going to be the top of the trunk. Now it's going to go out like that, and this side is going to go out like that. And meet that one. So that's an upside down arch right along there for the trunk. Now his other trunk is on the other side of his head, and so it's going to be further away, and it's going to be on the other side of his trunk, so we can't see all of it. So we're going to just start out here on the edge of his trunk and have it go out and around back down. And it's going to be shorter than the trunk in the front. It's going to sit back a little ways. Next, we're going to add in his legs. So starting with his back leg, I'm going to draw in a big circle. Actually, I'm going to make a mark down here where I want the bottom of his foot to be, right there. Leave a little bit of space between the bottom of the page. I'm going to draw a big oval. His back thigh is really big and heavy, and so I'm going to draw a big circle to represent his big thigh, and it's going to look like that. And now I'm going to draw in a little circle. That's his hoof, or his foot. I don't know that elephants really have hooves, but that's his foot. And then kind of another oval. That's the bottom part of his leg there. So these kind of show his joints, how they come together. So like if you were to look at my arm or your own arm, so there's the elbow, but if I were to draw this, I could draw one big oval here and then another oval here, and then where those ovals come together, that's my elbow or my knee or my wrist or my joint, where those two things come together. So that's his back knee right there. Now I'm going to draw his front leg. So we want the bottom of his foot to be right about there. And that's kind of lined up with the front edge of the big oval. So I'm going to go ahead and draw in a circle for his foot, and then a big oval for his front leg, and then a smaller oval underneath that, and that makes the rest of his front leg. Now you can probably tell we have a little bit of erasing to do. So I'm going to kind of show you which lines to erase. So you can probably kind of see. So this line here, actually step back. Before we do that, we're going to draw a little line to join those ovals that we drew. And also up here on top of the head. And you know what? We forgot his ear. Let's go ahead and draw in the ear before we forget it, because elephants' ears are very important. All right. So you are going to write where, so you see the circle for his head. So right where that circle is, we're going to draw a big arch facing forward. So it's going to follow that same curve of his body. I mean, kind of the same curve as his head, but it's going to go out further. So it's like a big arch instead of a circle shape. And now then the top of that ear, we're going to draw a line down just a little bit into his head, maybe 1 or 2 fingers width into his head. And then on the bottom, we're going to bring it up and maybe a little bit further, about 2 to 3 finger widths. And then that's going to be his ear. Now with the erasing. So where you just drew in this ear, all these lines behind the ear on the inside, you can erase those. So you're going to erase that line there. You're going to erase this circle, or this that part of the body, that oval. You'll erase that and that. And now over here on the trunk, you will erase that line from the trunk. You'll erase that line because we know that tusk comes in front. You'll erase that line. And here on the leg, you'll erase that line for the body. You'll erase that line and that line and that line. And I forgot to join that together. So just join his foot with the leg on both the front and the back. And on the back leg, of course, you're going to erase that line and those lines and those lines. Now we're going to come over to his backside and we're going to make a little tail. So draw one line that comes out and down, and then you're going to draw a second line that kind of mimics the shape of the first line that goes out and down, and at the end he's got a little bit of a tassel. Now we're going to draw his other leg. So starting with the front, this other leg is on the other side of him, so we can't see the whole leg, but we're just going to see part of it that sticks out here. The front leg is going to sit further back. It's not going to come down quite as far as that first leg, so go up a little bit above where his foot meets his leg, and then you're just going to draw a line down that's going to kind of mimic the same line as the front leg in front of it. And there, so that is his front leg on the other side. Now we're going to draw his back leg, and we're going to draw it over on this side. So we're going to start up here. It's going to sit back again. So we're seeing it from further away. And then we're going to mimic, actually we're going to start up here. It's going to stick out a little bit, but we're going to mimic that same line a little bit. So mimicking this line of his leg, we're going to mimic that shape, that same shape for his back leg that's on the other side. Now I'm going to switch papers for you. So after you erase your lines, this is what yours probably looks like, something kind of like this. And no worries if it's not perfect. Like I always say, there's no right or wrongs in art, and that's part of the fun. Now you are going to draw in his eye. So his eye is going to be about halfway down his head. Oh, I forgot to have you draw in the mouth actually also. So over here, where there should just be a line going across right there, you're going to just draw a shape down and around, and that just kind of makes his bottom lip that's kind of sticking out there. Now his eye is going to be about halfway between that circle, so I'm going to put it in right there. It's going to be just kind of an arch on the top, an arch on the bottom, and then fill it in nice and dark. And that's your elephant's eye. And a few lines on his trunk, because elephants have such interesting textured, wonderful skin with lots of wrinkles and lines in it. So add a few lines in the trunk. And then we'll add a few lines over here. A few lines to kind of show the volume, show the shape of his belly. And maybe a few lines on his knees. All right, and there you have your elephant. And now really quickly on the shading, and I'd like you to take a little bit more time with this so you can take the time to really do a good job with your shading, and so you can be really happy with your elephant. But here's where you're going to do the shading. So imagine our sun is coming from up here again. So All the things that are on this side of him are going to be in shadow. His belly is going to be in shadow because it's underneath, and this side of his trunk, um, and then his ear is going to be casting a shadow right there also. So, and turn your paper to make it easier to do your drawing and make your shadow. But think about that shading activity we did at the beginning, where you went from really dark to really light. So we're going to leave a lot of areas white, but where you're shading, think about getting really dark shades and then pushing lighter and lighter on your pencil till you're not pushing at all. And then that will help it go from really dark to really light. And if you'd like, you can blend those lines a little bit. You can either use the eraser on your pencil. I have this other eraser here, so I'll show you how to do that. So you just kind of gently rub it together, and then you can kind of pull out some of that shading, pull out some of that color from your pencil. And you can see how it just helped that blend together a lot more. And if you wanted to, you could either use your pencil for that, or your eraser for that, or your finger. So if I wanted to, I could go in here with my finger and just rub those lines together and blend it in. And blend the pencil line together. So you can work on that as you're doing this. Some shading right under here, under his lip. Going to be nice and dark, out to very light. A little shadow right above his ear. A shadow on this side of his trunk. Okay, a shadow on this side of his leg. And on up into that area. Maybe that's kind of like his armpit right in there, but go ahead and shadow in that area. Go nice and dark at the edge, and then just blend it out. Go lighter and lighter until it's nothing, by just pushing on your pencil lighter and lighter. And then there's going to be a shadow on that far leg. So nice and dark. And blend it out to nothing. And then go ahead and blend it out with your finger or your eraser if you'd like to. And you know what, there's going to be a little shadow on this side of his ear also. Not too dark though. Right there, just kind of a light shadow. But can you kind of see how that makes his ear pop out like it's actually three-dimensional? Shadow under his belly. So nice and dark all the way out to nothing. And then shadow on his back legs. And darkest close to the edge. And on the final leg, nice dark shadow. And then gradually push lighter on your pencil so your shading is less dark. And lastly, on the bottom side of his tail is going to be in shadow also, just a little bit. All right, and so there is your shading for your elephant. Alrighty, Marco, so a little bit of homework for you this week. I hope your last homework went really well. Here's what I'd like you to work on for the week is a line drawing of an elephant, so just his head. And this is another point of view. This is a straight on picture of his face. Whereas the one we just drew is it's called a profile. That means he's facing the side and we only see one side of him. This is just a straight on point of view. And it's just a line drawing. So just think about the lines, looking at the shapes of his ear, shape of his eyes, his trunk, these lines on his trunk, and his tusks coming out. So just think about those lines, and this should be a really fun drawing for you to work on this week. Alrighty, I am looking forward to seeing you again next time. I hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.